All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let's begin the day by giving charity. Let's begin by giving charity. Here we go. Ready? Yes. Charity box, charity. And in the merit of this charity, there should be Moshiach NOW, world peace, world progress, world prosperity, human joy and nachat. The Jewish people should be redeemed. Beis Hamikdash should be built. And all the Jews should be back at home in the Holy Land. Good. Now, let's begin. With this week, we're talking about, this week's Torah portion is called Truma, and it's referring to the donations that all the Jews gave from their own free will in the desert, right about a year after they left. The Israel. I'm sorry. A year after they left Egypt. So the tabernacle was built, and it took them a while to gather together all the materials to make it, and to build it. So, what is this idea? What's this idea about the tabernacle? What do they have to build the tabernacle for? I remember when I was just, beginning to inquire about what exactly. I mean, I'm a Jew. I didn't know anything about really what Judaism is, and so I read the Bible, and I was very amazed to see that they build this sort of tabernacle, a sort of little portable tent with a couple of altars in it, and the tablets and things like that, and they wandered around the desert. I thought that Judaism was supposed to be, a religion, something spiritual. Here, God is telling the Jews build a little house and build a little altar and offer up sacrifices. That was just really bizarre. So I couldn't figure out what exactly is the point of this whole thing. That's what Judaism is, and there's no we don't make sacrifices today, and there's no portable tabernacle that we carry around with us, and we like I was in synagogue a few times. They never lit the menorah over there, offered up incense. It just doesn't seem like a very religious thing to do. At least not a Jewish thing in any case. So really, what was the point of the temple? What was the point of the Holy Temple? In fact, we're praying every day that God should rebuild the temple. Right? We should pray every day that we should read that we should. The Divir Beisechel. The Divir Beisechel means the what is it? The Holy Temple. We should rebuild the Holy Temple, right? And we pray for it every day. Shibona Beis Hamikdash b'meira b'yameinu. What do we need a Beit Hamikdash? What do we need a holy house? It's always translated holy temple, but that's not the literal meaning. The literal meaning is it's a holy house. Beit Hamikdash, the house which has been sanctified, a holy house. So what's the idea? So the idea is to show the importance of this physical world, why God is creating the world. What's the whole point of the Torah? The Torah is not just a story, that's telling us that after the world was created. So if you're religious, so you got this book that'll tell you how to get out. What's going to happen after you die? It's not telling you that. The Torah is telling you why the world was created. The Chassidut informs us that the world is constantly being created, every detail. So why? What's the point? Why is God doing this? Or maybe we should just say, don't ask questions. What do you care what God is doing? Just, why do I have two eyes in my head? Why don't I have just three eyes? Why don't I have one eye in the back? What? That's the way it is. They take it or leave it. That's the way you got it. It says no, but Judaism says, the motto of Judaism is Shema Yisrael, listen Jews. The word listen Jews means to understand. It's a commandment to try to understand as much as possible. It's a commandment to try to understand as much as possible about God. And the reason is if you don't try, then you'll probably get the wrong idea, which basically is all the other religions in the world. They have the wrong idea what God is. What's the right idea of what God is? That God cares very much about every detail of this world, and God reacts to every detail that we do in this world, especially if we do what he says. And that was what the temple was. The temple was a place in this world. It was, and I say units of this world, bricks and gold and silver and copper, etc. There were physical things, and was done with them constantly what God wants. And that kept the whole world going. That's the whole reason that the world, and even though the things that were done there don't really seem to make very much sense. I mean, what does God need? We have to light up these candles, these lamps. We have to light the lamps, and then God is happy. You light the lamps, God's happy. You burn incense in the morning, then he's really happy. You make sacrifices, you kill a few animals, and you burn it up. This is by God is just overjoyed with this. It doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. Says that's right. Doesn't make any sense, and we have to make sense of it as much as possible. But intrinsically it doesn't. But the fact is that this is what God wants. Like we say, take it or leave it. But we have to take it, and when we do take it, we can take it with a lot of effort to understand it. It has to permeate every aspect of our understanding. And even though there is no temple, but it says by learning about it, there will be a third temple. We're waiting for Moshiach to come, and God will give us the third temple. Okay, ready? Here we go. So there's a book called The Song of Songs. And this book called The Song of Songs was written by King Solomon. It's 8 chapters long. And it's all metaphors and allegories and mysteries. And one of the things it says over there, it's a love song. It's a love song between God and the Jewish people, and the Jewish people and God. And sometimes it's talking about the present, the past. Sometimes God is doing the talking. Sometimes we're doing the talking. Sometimes it's in feminine. Sometimes it's masculine. Sometimes it's plural. Sometimes it's singular. Okay, so here's one of the examples, but it's all metaphors. There's no simple meaning to it. Here's one of the examples. It says, maybe I should even bring this up. Let's see. It's in the 8th chapter of Song of Songs, the first sentence. The first sentence in the 8th chapter. Should I try to bring it up? Why not? Let's try to go. Here we go. Shir HaShirim. Should I do it in English? I'll do it in Hebrew. Here we go. Shir HaShirim. Shir. I should have done this yesterday. Shirim. Shmona 1. Let's see what comes up. Here we go. What's this Romans? What's going on over here? How did I get that? How did I get Romans? 1 second. What is this? I didn't change the language. I see. Okay. There's an explanation for this here. Let's try it again. Here we go. Ready? Okay, good. Shir. I said good. Okay, that's better. Shir. Shirim. Maybe that's how the New Testament came about. They just forgot to change from Hebrew, from English to Hebrew, and they just typed it out, and it came out. See, it came out over the room. Maybe that's how the thing could be. Okay, here we go. Let's go. Shir HaShirim 8:1. That's right. 8:1. 8:1. Oh, here we go. Bible Gateway. See these? This. All right, let's see if we get it. Can we get it? Come on. You can do it. Go. Oh, here we go. Shir HaShirim. Come on, leave me alone. Mi yiten v'hayita ka'achli. That's not right. 1 second. 1 minute. What is going on over here? Just 1 minute. 1 minute. Maybe I'm making a mistake over here. Excuse me. Maybe I'm wrong. That's what it's supposed to be. Tilim. 1 minute. Mishle. Here it is. So here we go. Let's see. Mi yitencha ka'achli. Who did this? What is this? Tochen. I don't want the tochen. I want this is what it says over here. Why is they doing this? Okay. All right, let's try it again. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have gotten into this. This is not what it says. I guess this is his interpretation of what's going on. Everybody messes around with the Torah. Let's just forget it. There it goes. You just have to take my word for it. There we go. Here. Mi yitencha ka'achli. Who will make it that you will be like a brother to me? Yonek shadei imi, nursing from the breasts of my mother. Huh? That's what King Solomon said. Mi yitencha ka'achli. Who will make it? It would only should be that you will be like a brother to me. Yonek shadei imi, nursing from the breasts of my mother. I found you outside. Asha kacha, I will kiss you. Gam lo yavuzu li, no one will make fun of me. Huh? Maybe this is not. This is here. It is. Oh, thou wert like my brother that sucked the breasts of my mother. When I should find you outside. Why do they have to use this old ancient what is it? The Robert Bacon or somebody English? Without, I would kiss you and. Okay, then no one would embarrass me with him. Okay, so what's going on over here? Who's talking? Who would give you like a brother to me? So this is the Jewish people talking to God. And one explanation says you should be like a brother. What do you mean like a brother to me? Like Yosef. Yosef and his brothers did all these terrible things to him. They tried to kill him. They sold him into slavery. And Yosef forgave them all. He forgave them all, and he said, what you did was you maybe intended to do bad, but God intended it to do good. So it said, may you be like a brother to me, like Yosef forgave his brothers. Right? That the Jewish people speaking to God. If you haven't read the Song of Songs, I advise everybody to go and read it. And if you think you understand it, you're wrong, because there's no understanding what happened over here. Yeah. Look at this. See, look at that. I shouldn't have gotten into this whole business. Here we go. I have to go back in here 1 second. This is how all these amazing. See, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing over here, but somebody took all of the books, a lot of the books of Chabad. I mean, there's really more, but there's a tremendous percentage of books, and not only just Chabad, other books also, and he put them up so that they can be used. And that's what he used. Whoever did this, be blessed. Torah Ohr, read online. Here we go, page 166. That's what it was. I remember from yesterday. I got this whole thing prepared. Here we go. Ready? There we go. Good. All right. Ready? Yes. Okay, we have the preparation, and let's go. So this is the Jewish people speaking to God. May you only be like a brother to me. When is it talking? After the temple was destroyed. Etc. This is the request of the Jewish people. This is the request of the Jewish people. Where is my picture here? My picture is not here. 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. Here we go. Stop share. There I am. Start the share. Excuse me. There we go. Okay. See, it's the same problem as before we had. Okay. Oh, here I am. There we go. Good. Who will make you a brother to me? This is the request of the Jewish people to God. Al Zaman Galut, on the time of exile. That the time when the Holy Temple was in existence, Nikra'u, the Jewish people were called Achim, brothers to God. Lamakom. Makom means God. Like it says, Laman Achai V'Rayai. Like it says, for the sake of my brother and my friends. It's talking King David saying in King Psalms. The Jewish people and God were called brothers. Because even it says afterwards, Laman Beis Hashem Elokeinu, it says in the Psalm of King David, that God, we are called brothers when? Because of the house of God. Kolomar, in other words, When are we and God called brothers? In the time when the Holy Temple exists. So we have the Jewish people are called the sons of God. The Jewish people are called the servants of God. They're called the sons of God from the time of Abraham. God took the Jews out of Egypt. He called them the sons of God. When they got the Torah, they were called the servants of God. And the Jews are called the wife of God. That also happened in Mount Sinai. And here we see that there's other terms also. The Jewish people were called the soldiers of God. That's when they left Egypt. They're called Tzivot Hashem. All these are true. But here we have one that we're called the brothers of God. Therefore, now when the Holy Temple is not in existence, when the Holy Temple was there, we were like brothers. Now we're requesting again, who would only give it that you were again a brother to me. Okay, now does this make any sense? Of course it doesn't make any sense. This is really far out. I mean, we did. But on the other hand, if you think about it a little bit, that God tells the Jews, takes the Jews out of Egypt, right? Millions of Jews left Egypt. About 3 million Jews, 600,000 just men above the age of 20. Jews, God chose the Jews. He chose the Jews. Who are Jews? The same Jews that he took out are the same Jews today. Despite all the difficulties and all the wars and all the perfidy and the this, etc., and the Jews have tried with all of their might and all of their wisdom and all of their power and all their courage to destroy Judaism. And they've done anything, the communism and Zionism and reform and conservative and etc., to change the religion. I mean, now Christianity came from a Jew, right? Anything they can, and it still exists. Jews still exist, right? And the Jews don't even know that they're Jews. That's what it means. God, please make it that we're like a brother to you again. The Jews are brothers of God. We don't even know what it means. So now we're going to see what it means. When there was the Holy Temple, we're called brothers of God. The Inyan is like this. The Hine, the Keruvim, in the Keruvim, that we're in the Holy Temple. Now, what is the Keruvim in the Holy Temple? I'm tempted to bring it up, but every time I do it, I erase something else. On the ark that was in the Holy Temple, it was in the Holy of Holies. It was in a room on its own. There was the ark. And in this ark was the tablets that Moses received at Mount Sinai. And the broken tablets, the ones that he broke, and also the regular tablets, they were in Mount Sinai, they were in the Holy Temple, in the Holy of Holies. They were in a box. On this box was a cover. On this cover protruded 2 statues of angels facing each other. Angels facing each other. Should I try to bring up the picture? All right, let's try to do it. Live on the wild side. Let's see how I can do this. Do I do this like this? There we go. Let's try it. 1 second. Vessels of the temple. Let's try this. Now we did this last year. We'll do it more. Now you see how people really get things wrong. You'll see this. This is amazing. Here we go. Ready? You have the temples. No. All right. There must be more of these things. Is there a picture over here? We got to get more. Of the menorah, not the menorah. Okay. Made a mistake. Let's see. Oh, here. See, we got the ark. Here we got the ark. 1 minute. Gotta have the ark. The ark is in the Holy of Holies. 1 second. All right. Here it is. Here is the ark. See? Here's the ark. Now on the ark, what is it? It's a picture. Here's a picture of the ark also. Here's the picture of the ark. This is surprisingly almost accurate. Here it goes. The stabs were really more in the middle, but see, there's 2 angels here. Let's see if we can. Got to get a better picture. I hope you can see this. Here. See here. Here on the ark were these 2 pictures were these two angels, but you can't see the angels. It was two faces of angels with wings lifted up. Here you can't see what's going on over here. I thought it would make this easy, and it looks like it's not working so well. You figured that would be the most important one. You feel here. See, here's a picture of it. Here, let's see this one. Can we get this one? No. I want to make it bigger. Can we make? Oh. So here we go. Here we go. Here. Yeah, this is the picture I want. Oh, here we go. Go, good. Here it is. This is it. This is a fairly accurate picture. This is good. See, you have the ark, and on it were the faces of two children, keruvim, like angels, and the wings were touching, so they were facing each other. The angels were facing each other. That's the point. They're facing each other. All right. And we'll learn later on, but not today, that the menorah, the arms were straight. There's no opinion that says the arms were curved. Okay. They were facing it. So here we got it. Okay. Let's go. What happened? 1 minute. Go back. 1 second. There we go. Torah Ohr. Okay, good. So it says there were two keruvim. Keruv echad mikatzei mizeh, keruv echad. It says that there was one face of an angel on one side, on the top of the the ark. What do they call it? The ark, and one on the other side. It's called the tave. The inyan of keruvim. This idea of the angels, these faces, statues of the angels, will be understood. What it says, the rabbis. Hainu Pnei Kruv, Hainu Pnei Adam. It was the face of a man. Api Rabaviv, Api Zutri. It says a big face and a small face. Okay, so here we go. What in the world are the statues doing in the Holy of Holies? Statues in the Holy of Holies. Well, that's like, isn't that the opposite of Judaism? You're not supposed to have any statues. And here we have not this as there was a statue in Judaism, like let's say outside of the temple. There was in the temple, not just in the temple, in the Holy of Holies. Not only it was on top of on the cover of the ark where the holy tablets were. That's the ultimate holiness, is the tablets. That's the whole essence of Judaism, is the tablets, the Torah. And on top of them were the faces of angels. What's going on over there? So it says there's small faces and big faces. Okay, so let's see what's going on over here. What is this got to do with Judaism? What type of a message is this sending us? But it says, Al Tamut Kisei, Tamut Kamariadam. It says in the vision of Ezekiel, right? That's in the vision of Ezekiel. It says that he saw a throne, and on the throne was the appearance of man. Was the appearance of man? 1 minute. Here it is. Ezekiel, right? It's right in the beginning of Ezekiel. Right in the beginning of Ezekiel. So he saw they saw the visions, spiritual visions, and he saw the visions that there were these. The face of a lion, the face of an ox, the face of this. So different angels. There was a throne, and on the throne was sitting a man. He's sitting a man. Who was the man? The man, that was God. Now, of course, God is not a man, right? A guy sitting on a throne, what does it mean? But on the other hand, that does say we are made in the image of God. And if you look in the mirror, you'll see you have an image. You have nose, you have eyes. Other people also. You don't have to look in the mirror. Look at other people. Everybody seems to have mouth and eyes and nose. So we're all made in the image of God. It says God doesn't have an image. So the answer is that Ezekiel, he had the answer. He saw the connection between God, who has no image, God is infinite, and the world. There's a spiritual connection, and a spiritual connection that's called the image of God. We'll learn about that. Kidmotenu, B'Tzelmenu. Here we go. It says this appearance of a throne was the appearance of the likeness of a man. Shari Enlo Demutaguf. God has not got a body. He hasn't even got the image of a body. But that means, so what did exactly Ezekiel see? And why is this one of the holy books of the Torah? Ezekiel's prophecy, he saw a man. You should throw that away. That's misleading, right? It says, no, it's not. The Torah itself is called man. Kamosh Katuv Zota Torah Adam. Like I said before, The point of the Torah is to tell us how important this physical world is to God. And God is incomprehensible. He creates the spiritual, it creates everything. And here's an example where he creates the spiritual. But somehow or other, it came from God's infinite oneness that came this world. So it must be that somehow we're in the essence of God's will that he wants this world to exist. Because see, if it says, Zos Torah Adam, this is the Torah of man. A pirush is, so I just want a point here we're trying to make is that according to Judaism, every human being is infinitely important. Infinitely important. There's all these other religions that say, you're everybody's sinners and you're going to burn in hell and you have to believe this. If you're alive and God is creating you, it's a sign that God loves you. It's a God that you're tremendously important, but you can't leave it at that. He's creating you for a purpose, and you have to realize, activate this purpose. Okay, but we're starting out that man is in the image of this man that's sitting on the throne, or the image of that image, whatever. There's also man around, or there's the face of man, which is around the throne also. In any case, it means like this. Let's talk up now. We're talking ostensibly about the Jewish people, but eventually this is going to be, to a different degree, is true about everyone in the world. So it says, the rabbis say the whole entire Torah, the Torah is the names of God. Well, Bezor, it's called the 10 Sfirot. It's called the 10 Sfirot, the secret of God's name. The 10 Sfirot, that's 10 aspects of God's personality. So God has a personality. God has ways that he expresses himself. God is not limited to being unlimited. Doesn't have to be, what do you say, amorphous. God doesn't have to be just, remain in the upper realms. God creates the world. He cares about every detail. The means by which God creates the world and cares about all of its details, that's the Torah. That's these 10 Sfirot. It means like this. That's this big mystery. That's the mystery. That's the God of Israel. The God of Israel is creating everybody and cares about everybody. And personally, that's what it means. But how does he do it? There's a whole process. It says, so it says the Torah is the names of God. Like the name of a person, Shanikar Avram, a person is called, let's say, the name of Abraham or Jacob. This does not affect the person's essence. That the essence and the very, they say, being of a human being, who this is his intellect and his emotions. Take a person and put him into solitary confinement, and nobody ever calls his name. It doesn't mean he stops existing, right? Might affect him psychologically a little bit, but it doesn't affect him. He's still a person. A person is his intellect and emotions. That's relevant to him, that person. Even when a person is alone. It could be even if there's no one to awaken his love, his fears, his whatever, his talents. Nobody's there, but he still has them. Which is not the case. The name of a person. The name of a person, he doesn't need it when he's alone. A name of a person is only the external of a person. True, people need to be social. They have to have others, but they don't need it essentially. If a person is not social, it doesn't destroy the person. The person is still there. By means of this, a person, by his name, he turns to others who call his name. But if a person is alone, so he's alone. The person is still there. Name is only external. So it isn't regarding the essence of God. Even the highest level of godliness, pure life force of God. Chachma is like pure life force, pure consciousness. The Ein Tzorich Liyomar goes without saying. God's emotions, Eino Erech Halal, they're not compared to God's essence. Shemehusa v'atzmusa, the God's essence, Meroma Misnasa, this is higher than God's Chachma and God's wisdom. Okay, so what do we have now? We have so far like 3 levels of God, if you want to call it. One is God's essence. Another is God's intellect and his emotions. And another is God's names. So the names of God are like nothing compared to his essence, just like in a person. Your name doesn't have any effect on who you are, who your essence is. There could be a thousand, a million people called Fred. It doesn't mean that just because a person is called Frederick, that makes him, Frederick, he must be smart. Oh, he must have a bad temper. It's called Frederick. That's ridiculous. Everybody, a name is just an external thing. Even though a name does touch on, when you say a person's name, it awakens the person up, right? He knows who he is, but still a name is the most external. Then you have the person's intellect, and the person's his intellect and his the emotions. That's what makes a person, right? He's a very intelligent person. He's very, right, his emotions. Some people can be very intelligent, but they can't control their emotions. Some people can be very emotional people, but their intellect is they got the wrong ideas in their mind. They can't understand. But even intellect and emotions is not the essence of a person. If a person is in a coma, if a person is asleep, and his intellect and his emotions are not active at all, it's still, the person is still there. There's still this person there. So if so, if you want to call it the essence of what the person's personality is, that's what's called chachma. Chachma is like pure consciousness. Consciousness. That's the highest. That's the highest of the 10 sfirot also. Intellect, even though the intellect is also not the essence of a person, this is what a person has when he's alone. Moshiach, which is not the case of a person's name, he doesn't need it when he's alone. This is just the external of the external. And so it is. We're made in God's image, so we can learn something from ourselves. So it is also regarding God. Even this power of God's upper wisdom, which is called, that's what it's called in English, but it means God's essential life force, or the essence of God's consciousness, if you want to call it. From that comes all of the other emotions of God. That's the highest of the 10 sfirot. But nevertheless, these 10 sfirot, how much more so God's emotions, they are not compared at all to God's essence. That God's essence is elevated from even this level of God's chachma, the highest of the 10 sfirot, pure life force of God. V'hitavut ein sof, and this creation of the 10 sfirot, this is called the secret of God's holy name. Shehu rak b'chinas Torah, all of these upper sfirot of God, how God interacts with the world and cares about the world and creates the world, and what makes God angry and what makes God pleased. And it says all this is only external God, only the external aspects of God. She'enu nogea b'atzmo, so it doesn't touch God's essence. Okay, but somehow or other we're going to learn that the Jewish people do touch God's essence. And the reason they do that is because that's how God set up the world. That's how God set the world up. The Jewish people are special. We're going to see. That's what it means. The Jewish people are called a brother, and etc. It says, it says God with wisdom created the world. It says, the revelation of this ray of God's oneness, shehu bechinas shem havaya, that this is the name of God, like it says, Ani Hashem, hu shemi, this is my name. Hu bechinas chachma. Where does God begin to reveal his, want to call it his personality? That's what's called chachma. That's in the Torah. The first word in the Torah, Breshit Bor Elokim, it translates to chachma. Chachma is like the beginning of the God's intention to create. Chachma, by means of chachma, is drawn down God's infinite light in all of the other 10 sfirot, other 9 sfirot. Like it says, like we see in another place in the Tanya. The Tanya explains it in chapter 35. It explains. Okay, so chachma is like the plug. It's the plug that plugs from, like you have an electric fan. So you have an electric fan, you have a plug. The fan works. The fan works, but it works by electricity. Where do you get electricity from? From the wall. How do you get it from the wall to the? There's a cord, but the cord it doesn't have electricity in it. In order to get the cord, you have to have a plug, right? The plug in the end. So you put the plug in. Chachma is like the plug for the whole entire creation, spiritual creation, everything that plugs into the essence of God for our purposes. Let's say. So it's the highest aspect of reality is chachma. Therefore, Chachma is called Adam. It's called man. It says Adam Arishon, something that's called the first man. In the Zohar, it's called Adam Kadma'ah. This aspect of God's Chachma, Reshit Chachma, says Chachma is the beginning of God making I say, diversity. That's the beginning. That's the plug that plugs into the essence of God. Kihu, come on, this is like Hispashtus Vamshachas Or. This is like spreading out of light and life of God from the soul to the body. The person you're alive, how does it start to activate your personality? That's what's called Chachma. Consciousness, awareness. Klolos Achayos is drawn down from the soul. Over here. It is drawn down from the soul and it shines into your brain, first of all, in your head. And by means of the brain, it comes down afterwards a little bit to each limb, according to its ability. It goes to your eyes, to your toes, to your finger. Like it's explained in the Tanya. Okay, so like this. God creates a world, but the world is very, very complicated. Like a human body is complicated. God creates a world, and this world, what God has his reasons. I don't understand God's reasons, but that's the way he did it. The world is tremendously complicated. It's a whole system, just like a human being. There's a whole entire system, right? You want to tie your shoelace, so that the steps that go to tie your shoelace from the essence of your soul to come down into your will, into your brain, through your spinal cord, etc., the muscles and everything. It's so amazingly complicated. Amazingly complicated. Why does it have to be that way? Doesn't make any sense. Why does it have to be that way? Nowadays, they make these robots, whatever. It's not so complicated. It's a human being, right? It's not a human being. Works a lot better also. They don't get depressed. They don't get this. Nevertheless, that's the way things that are alive, that's the way they work. They're very complicated. The same thing is also in the world. God makes a world, and the world is very complicated. Why he does this, I don't know. That's all the mysteries of Kabbalah. Talk about this. That's what we're talking about now. Why is the Rebbe even telling us about this? Because we have to know and appreciate God. We have to know and we have to appreciate God. And if you don't know and appreciate God at least a little bit, then you'll think God is like a big man sitting up in the sky, which is, if you want to think that, that's not that bad, but that brings you also to idolatry, that he's a big man sitting way, way above the sky. And if you want to get to God, it's like, getting to the president of the United States. Not everybody has access to the president, right? You have to go through your governor, and not even have access to the governor. You have to go to the mayor. Even you have to go to the mayor's secretary, right? Something like that. Not so with God. Not so with God. You can go directly to God, every single person, all the time. But on the other hand, there is this whole system of the president. God is, let's say, the president, and then there's also the governor, and there's a whole system also. And it's a rare case where the president himself listens to you. So here we're saying no, that it's God always listens to you, but the process by means of which it happens is more complicated than getting a message through to the president of the United States. Let's say an example, right? You have to go to the governor's office and this office. So it comes out that so God, but of course, unlike the president of the United States, God is creating everything. And he's creating everything, and the world is very complicated, right? Look at in biology class, I remember they would dissect a frog or something like that. It was tremendous how amazingly complicated the system is. And that's just one frog. Think about all the little, whatever it is, bugs that are in the frog, and they also have these respiratory systems and reproductive systems. Anyway, so it comes out that the whole entire world is being created, all of the life force, which is created, Nimsa Mochin, so it comes out that the intellect, this is what directs the whole life force of man. So it is like above, so to speak, that the revelation of the light of God, it comes through this level of Chachma. And by means of Chachma, it's like we say, wisdom, Chachma is drawn down the light in all the other 9 sphirot. Okay. Okay, and if so, a Raita, and so therefore the Torah, that is God's wisdom. Torah is God's wisdom. The Torah, that's why the Torah is called man. Torah Adam. That is by means of the Torah, we attach ourselves to God. The Torah is the plug that plugs us in. That's the level of man. The Torah is called man. This level of man is called Adam Gadol. That's called the big man. That's Api Rababi. That's the big faces. That's Chachmei Eloah. That's the upper wisdom. So we say on the cherry, on the ark was a cover. On the cover were protruding these two faces of angels, and they were facing each other. Why? Because it's showing us this dynamic interaction between the Jewish people and God. And that's why God made the whole world and why he gave the Torah, to activate the Jewish people. And then the Jewish people, they activate God. God reacts to what we do. That's how God set up the world. That's why he created the world. So the upper face, that's what's called God's big wisdom. It's called God's, that's called the big face. And so this is what's called God's infinite face. That's the image of God. It says that the God's wisdom, there's no searching. That God is the known, he's the knowledge. God is incomprehensible. And that's the faces, the two faces that are on the ark. Torah. This is the Torah like it is above. And in order for the Torah to come down below into this world, right? The Torah as it is in God's wisdom. That's the upper, that's one face on the ark. In order for this to come down and be brought down into the world, then there has to be a tzimtzum. There has to be what we call a contraction of God's wisdom to come into this world. That's what the rabbis say. Tzimtzum shechina bein stei bari Aaron. When Moses would speak, he would go. When Moses would speak to God, most of the messages that God that was called the Ohel Moed. Ohel Moed was the place where the menorah was and where the small altar was. He would stand there, and the two poles of the ark would push the curtain out. They would push the curtain out a little bit. It would protrude a little bit. There's two protrusions. That's where the two staves of the ark were, and that Moses would speak to God, and the voice of God would come between would come from between these two staves of the ark. Because from there came the voice of God speaking to Moses. Well, that God somehow or other contracted his whole essence so that his voice, God's voice, would come from between these two staves of the ark to Moses. Do we have the picture? I don't want to go back to this thing again. Yeah, here we go. Here, look here. Let's try it. See, can we see this thing again? I don't want to get involved in this thing too much, but here we go. All right, let's just say that this is the picture. Here's the ark. Here are the two things. They're the two staves. In the temple, this was in the inside, there was a curtain that separated the holy, where Moses stood, and the Holy of Holies. And these two sticks, these two poles, they pushed from the inside, they pushed the curtain that was separating between the two. So Moses knew where it was between, and that was where the voice would come, from between these two. Okay. That came out all right. Because that from there came the voice to Moses. So this is about therefore this voice that came to Moses, this is called the small voice, the small man. So this contracted even more than the big man. That's what it means. This is drawing down from above to below. This is godliness being drawn down from above to below from one of these the faces of the angels. It's representing that. Liyot Makor V'Shorish. This is the source of drawing down light into Bria Yetzir Nasir, into the lower worlds. So the Torah was the whole essence of God's connection to this world. And on the top of the Torah were these two faces indicating that God will react to what we do. On one end was God's, so to speak, contraction of his being to come down to the Jewish people. It wasn't really that God hid himself. It's not called hiding himself. It's like speaking. When a person speaks, You don't hide yourself. In order to express yourself, you have to articulate your soul that it comes out in words. That's from one end, God's revelation. That's one of the the faces of the angels on the top of the ark. The kruv and the other face of the angel from the other side. This is in order that this could be, in order that this revelation can come down in the world, there has to be, first of all, the Jewish people at the Ruta de la Tata arousing things from below when they say Kriya Shema, when they say Shema Yisrael. When you say Shema Yisrael, it means, listen, God, Jews, God is one. You should love God with all of your heart. It means you're giving your soul over to God when you say loving God. When you say Shema Yisrael, you think deeply how it is that God is one. When you think that God is never unchangeable, but what God somehow or other spoke and created the whole entire world, and he's creating the world. God is creating, and the world, sort of speak, is automatically created from the world. You can't have any idea what God is because the world is real, right? The world says the world is only, if you want to call it, 1/1,000,000th of what reality really is. It's a qualitative thing. God is qualitatively infinitely more real than this world is. Kula Kameh in front of God is like nothing. The world is certainly real, but it's real only because God is creating it. When you think about this, you come to think, wow, this is amazing. God is really creating me. And therefore, when you start to think about this, you'll come to what's called Masirut Nefesh. You'll come to give your whole entire will and say, I don't want to be with you, God. I just want there to be only you. I don't want there to be two things. Therefore, the Jewish people are called Kala. The Jewish people are also called God's bride. They're called God's brother because we are on the same level, so to speak. We do something, God reacts. But we're also called God's bride, kalot nefesh, from the language of expiration, from below to below, below to above, from below to above. That's what it means. A kruv mikatzemi zeh. That's what it means that there is an angel, a face of the angel from one side. That's our efforts from below, elevating energy to God, to Or Ein Sof. And that's in Nesuah, that's what it means. Our eyes are lifted up to God. It's also one of the Psalms of King David. And by means of this, when we act, so God reacts by means of this, Kamayim upon him, it's like reflecting waters. That's the other angel on the other side of this. He reacts. That's what it means, making Shneim Keruvim. That's what it means, make two faces of angels. Mina Kaporet, from the covering of the ark. You should make these keruvim. This is what's called Soviv Ka'omim. This is the aspect of God which surrounds the world, and we're going to go back to this tomorrow. That this surrounds both of them equally. And we're going to talk about what this is tomorrow, God willing. And the ability to unite the oneness of God with this world comes from a higher power than even the oneness of God. How can that possibly be? What does it mean? We'll talk about this, God willing, tomorrow, but that's what's called the aspect of God that surrounds all the worlds, so to speak, the essence of God. Okay, so what did we learn today? We learned that the whole idea of the Holy Temple was to reveal more reality in this world and to reveal God's reality in this world. And that's done by means of the Torah. The Torah was in the Holy of Holies, but it's activated. That's the potential, but it's activated by the Jewish people. They activate God. And that's these two faces that are on the ark. It's so important that that's the whole essence of what Judaism is, that it comes out there's even two statues in the Holy Temple, and the Holy of Holies, two statues. Because that's the whole essence of what Judaism is, the face of the Jewish people arousing the face of God. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. And now let's do the Yom Yom, the Dvar Malchut.